to all plant lovers who have joined this webinar lecture. I am thankful to all of them who have interest to listen to me. Giving lectures in lecture or conference hall has its own glamour, during which speaker reads minds of audience and instantly makes changes in his lecture, which makes lecture more effective. But in webinars, we have limitations. I cannot see you and understand your reactions to my talk, and thus webinar lectures become sometimes monologue and somewhat monotonous. Anyway, COVID-19 has shown the importance of biology or biodiversity, and one extremely small unseen organism made human beings to lock down themselves in their houses throughout the world. It indicates the importance of biodiversity. It is a message to us to learn to live in harmony with other organisms. Webinar is the way by which we can share our knowledge. Today I have chosen an unusual topic, biodiversity and man, which has a direct relevance with present regional and global problems. I will cover 4 points in my talk. I will initially explain you the utmost role of taxonomy in present era, followed by amazing floral diversity of Western Ghats through slides, followed by role of educational institutes, colleges, universities, and schools, and botanical gardens in conservation, and finally try to convince that plants are the most needed by every one of us and entire animalia. The lecture will end with 2 videos on Hubardia and another on Corinandra. Now, this is a slide which you are seeing. A single tree of about 50 tons weight in 50 years of its life provides services worth of 140 lakhs in tropics and 120 lakhs in subtropics. In other words, every year, medium-sized tree provides services worth of 2 to 3 lakhs. It is not a salary of even many people today. Plants are most essential for existence of animals, including mankind. The true matrix of human life is the green world covering Mother Earth. Without green plants, we would neither breathe nor eat. This is our Malabar Prague is telling us. Moreover, fascinating physical, emotional, and spiritual relations exist between plants and man. And reality, what you are seeing, all bare truth is that our existence, including snakes, lizards, birds, insects, elephants, and all living organisms, depends on plants. This is a real truth. Life originated sometime 3.5 billion years ago, and through evolution, today we have enormous diversity of life on this planet. This is the only known planet on which life is so far known. Let us have a brief idea about origin and evolution of Homo sapiens. Homo sapiens belongs to a clade Homonoidea. About 15 to 20 million years ago, gibbons got separated. About 8 million years ago, orangutans got separated. Then about 5 million years ago, gorillas got separated. And finally, about 2 lakhs years before, 0.2 million, human beings, Homo sapiens, evolved from chimpanzees clade. There is about 90% of DNA similar to chimpanzees. So here, this is a scientific fact which is everybody knows. In other words, we are 98% chimpanzees and 2% human beings. History of Homo sapiens on this earth is only of 2 lakhs years. We are latecomers on this earth. We lived in Rift Valley for about 1.5 lakhs years and then started migrating. About 50,000 years before, we reached Australia. About 40,000 years before, we reached East Asia. About 20,000 years ago, we reached North America, and just about 10 to 12,000 years before, we reached South America. In other words, our history on this planet and occupying entire planet is only of 50,000 years. So we have changed our earth in 50,000 years. Now, then about 10,000 years before agriculture started, we started cultivation of economically important plants, or agriculture originated 10,000 years before. In 10,000 years, we claimed 2/3 terrestrial land of this planet for agriculture. Yuval Noah Harari wrote, "The agriculture revolution was history's biggest fraud. Today, every piece of land is brought under cultivation, leaving no area for the wild. Agriculture is one of the major causes for biodiversity loss. However, human beings have also created tremendous diversity in domesticated and cultivated plants, which is appreciable, but in long run, at what cost is the question." Taxonomy is rarely given required attention in education at school, college, and university level, in spite of its great importance in day-to-day life. The term systematics is used in modern biology, but I consider it as an extension of taxonomy. Sincerely, I feel that systematics or taxonomy is the feel of biology. In many biology textbooks, it is written that taxonomy is the mother branch of biology, and no one can deny role of our mother in upbringing us. Same way, taxonomy nurtures every branch of biology for their growth, development, and progress. I consider taxonomy as the axis of biological sciences around which entire biology rotates. In other words, taxonomy is a fundamental for biological sciences. During middle of 20th century, the subject of taxonomy was much neglected, and public and scientists thought that everything in taxonomy has been done and it is a dead science, or even some went to the extent to say that it is not science. Taxonomy became the victim of its own success. Quite simply, scientists and public took it for granted and thought that it has been done. Some scientists thought that taxonomy has no value and it is unnecessary complication. In reality, scientists do not fully understand that taxonomy is a continuous, rigorous, and painstaking process of incorporating new information. Taxonomy lays solid foundation for conservation. Taxonomy forms basis for implementation of Convention on Biological Diversity, global taxonomic initiatives, global strategies for plant conservation, and also for systematic agenda 2000 and 2020. Taxonomy has paramount value in building on hidden opportunities to achieve the Millennium Goals: poverty reduction through conservation and sustainable use of biodiversity. Taxonomists only prepare and provide red list of threatened plant species. And taxonomy is a basic to the understanding of biology. This was realized only when Rosen coined the term biodiversity in 1985, and world realized the importance of biodiversity, mass extinction of biodiversity, and need for its documentation and conservation. Our knowledge of biodiversity is negligible, and we have just documented, described, and named 10 to 11% of our total biodiversity. Remaining 90% of biodiversity is yet to be discovered, documented, described, and named. This is the formidable job for taxonomists. Every nation and all of us have realized the critical importance of taxonomy for the conservation and sustainable use of biodiversity. All conventions, initiatives, strategies, and programs for plant conservation highlight the need for taxonomy. Now, Haywood, during year 1967, wrote that taxonomy, the lonely voice speaking on behalf of an interest in biodiversity, when many of us were ignorant of biodiversity and its importance. Taxonomy has several functions, several important roles to play. First one is implementation of Convention on Biological Diversity. Second one is writing flora, monographs, revisions, and conservation, and documenting biodiversity. Now, botanical nomenclature is another problem. People and scientists get annoyed for difficult names, botanical names, and nomenclatural changes. But they should understand that naming the plant is the very fair democratic process accepted by the entire world. And this is an important function of taxonomy, that naming organisms and giving global identity to every species, which is a very important aspect. And then we have to bring taxonomy to users, conservation of island flora, and important one is our gardening of the earth. The contribution of botanical gardens to conservation and habitat restoration are great. It provides framework for developing botanical gardens in conservation, and important one is seed banks. Now, wild seed banks. Who will prepare wild seed banks? Only taxonomists have knowledge of wild plants, where they grow, how, when they flower, when they fruit, and when to collect seeds, and what plant. That way, taxonomy and wild seed collection has its own importance. Good network is needed, supporting infrastructure for taxonomy and conservation. Now, 21st century, we are in a 21st century, Homo sapiens, and we have many global problems. Let us know them. Age of mass extinction. We have already entered into the age of mass extinction, and you know, per minute, we are cutting 5 acres of tropical rainforest. Per hour, 300 acres into 24 hours into 365 days. By this rate, we are cutting tropical rainforest, and by 2050, we may not have tropical rainforest. And thus, we are, we are losing species in masses. This is a mass extinction era. Then, increased anthropogenic activities and pressure on natural resources, explosion of human populations, food security is our problem, biodiversity crisis is our problem, energy crisis is our problem, water crisis is our problem, invasive weeds, okay, pollution, climate change, increasing CO2, global warming, and many more problems we are facing. Threatened species, endemic species, hotspots of biodiversity, sustainable development, in all these aspects, taxonomy has a great role and great relevance in taking this subject further. Conservation of biodiversity is a as much as possible is a challenge for 21st century to you and me, not only to you and me, biologists only. Every person of this planet is concerned with this major problem, global problem. Today, biologists, especially taxonomists, have to play a great role, because why we are very important in 21st century, that we know biodiversity, we know where it exists, we know methods of reproduction in plants and animals, we know field status of species, we know growth requirements of organisms, we decide conservation priorities, we know ecology and growth requirement of species, and we know methods of propagation and captive breeding. We make biodiversity registers. We advise in conservation, and legislation, rules which are framed, which is the major user of taxonomic data. And that way, we biologists have to play a major role in sustainable development. Therefore, major role in conservation. All of us, we have biologists, especially taxonomists, are prime importance in 21st century to provide solutions to most of the acute problems of the world. Now, I come to the one web, spider web. You can see this web. Now, each thread I consider as a one species, and of the web plays important role. Each species plays important role. With the loss of these threads, there will be many holes in the web, and soon the delicate fabrics of the web will collapse. And therefore, each species is very important. Every species has to be conserved, but usually human beings only think of human-centric research, human-centric development, and they feel that many species are not useful, but every species has some role to play. In biodiversity documentation, conservation, and sustainable use, we need, see how many people we need. It is a multifaceted aspect. We need taxonomists, we need ecologists, we need reproductive biologists, microbiologists, sociologists, politicians, leaders, policymakers, foresters, international cooperation, society, and thus, it is a multidimensional aspect, and we need help from everyone, and then only conservation is possible. The paramount role of biologists in documenting conservation and sustainable use of biodiversity, I need not to say much about it. Thus, taxonomy is the cornerstone in conservation and sustainable use of resources. It has a critical importance. One should understand critical importance of taxonomy for conservation and sustainable use of plants. All conventions, initiatives, strategies, and progress of plant conservation indicate and highlight the need for taxonomy. Plant is a vital part of world's biodiversity. Estimates of plant species of the world is about 3 to 4 lakhs. Plants are of great concern to entire animal kingdom, including man. Many plant species are in danger of extinction and threatened by habitat transformation, overexploitation, and align invasive species, pollution, and climate change. According to the 1990 IUCN Red List of plant, nearly 34,000, that is 12.5% of world's vascular flora are threatened with extinction. So there is a need to minimize the diversity, which is so essential for man. Taxonomic, there are many impediments to the taxonomy. Global taxonomic initiatives for plant capacity building in taxonomy, because all of a sudden overnight we cannot create taxonomists. Every taxonomist need training for at least 7, 8 years, 10 years, and sometimes it is said that taxonomists mature at the point of his retirement. So taxonomy is very important, and we have no taxonomists today to document biodiversity. We have insufficient funds, resources towards plant conservation, and therefore global strategy for plant conservation came into existence. Systematic Agenda 2000, an ambitious initiative, proposed an intensive international program for 25 years of period. Now, I don't know how many of us we are aware. First objective was to discover, describe, and inventory global species diversity. Now you tell me. So 90% of biodiversity is yet to be discovered, described, and named. How many taxonomists you will need? Second objective was to synthesize the resulting data into predictive classification, and to develop an appropriate information system to handle the resulting information. So in 2020, we completed 25 years of Systematic Agenda 2000. And when we saw what we could achieve something, but the objective number 1 remained almost as it is. Therefore, Systematic Agenda 2020 came into existence, and it has 4 missions. Mission number 1, to discover and document past and present life on the earth, which is a huge task. Second one is to analyze and synthesize the information derived from this global discovery efforts into a history of life and predictive classification system. To understand the evolutionary mechanisms that explain the origin, maintenance, and loss of biodiversity. And finally, to communicate and apply this knowledge to science and society. The mission 3 and 4, even 2, we have done quite good progress, but mission number 1 remains almost as it is. We are discovering about 20,000 species every year. By that rate, we will take 600 more years to document entire biodiversity of our globe. Therefore, one can understand importance of taxonomist in today's age. The CBD and the thematic program of the CBD and the Millennium Development Goals shows that it is more important than ever to identify and conserve biodiversity for the sustainable development of the planet. In this, we are supposed to chart the biosphere, in which we need international cooperation, and in that first objective, to discover, describe, and characterize biodiversity of the globe. Second one is provide convenient system of classification. Already we are following APG4. And then understanding evolutionary processes, removing taxonomic impediments, then training in taxonomy and building capacity in taxonomy. Funding and sharing is needed, which has resulted into databases and retrieval of information. We all are enjoying the databases for understanding our plants. And finally, all these efforts will lead to conservation and sustainable utilization. Now, taxonomy has great role to play in implementation of CBD. There there are 14 articles which has direct relevance with taxonomy. Development of national biodiversity strategies and action plan. Without taxonomy, we cannot do. Identification and monitoring, in situ conservation, ex situ conservation, technology transfer, information exchange, scientific and technical cooperation, global taxonomic initiatives, global strategy for plant conservation, align species that threaten ecosystems, habitats, or species, traditional knowledge, thematic work programs, ecosystem approach, all these rotate around taxonomy. Without taxonomy, we cannot do anything with reference to these articles, and that way taxonomy is of a central theme today. Let us come to our Western Ghats. Western Ghats, an important biogeographical province of India, playing important role in peninsular India. It plays very important role in hydrological cycle of the region. Rain patterns in peninsular India are because of Western Ghats. Similarly, climatology is controlled by Western Ghats. And third, very important, Western Ghat is one of the 36 hotspots of the world and one of the 8 hottest hotspots of the biodiversity. It is a megadiversity area with 12,000, more than 12,000 species, and 12,000 species. It occupies just 5% of India's total area, but possesses 26 to 27% of flowering plants of this country. That means this small strip of Western Ghats is a treasure house of biodiversity. About 5,588 indigenous flowering plant species have been recorded, of which 2,253 are endemic. In one decade, 1986 to 96, about 260 new species were described. That means almost 25 species are described from Western Ghat every year. So just to get an idea of this area, the total flowering plant species recorded is 7,402, indigenous species 5,588, endemic species which are endemic to India but occur in Western Ghat is 2,253, and endemic, exclusively endemic to Western Ghat is 1,273, exotic and naturalized 376, and cultivated and planted species are 1,438. So this is the flowering plant wealth of the Western Ghats. Now you can see floral diversity of Western Ghat. It is an amazing floral diversity. Really, I feel I was really right in selecting taxonomy as my career subject and to deal with this floral diversity. Each flower is unique in its color, in its size, in its shape, and in its architecture. Now, you see these Arisemas of Western Ghats, and there are more than 55 species of Arisemas in India alone. And in Western Ghat, there are about 15 to 20 species. Many of them are endemic, and see the architecture of that spadix. So it is to understand the architecture of flower or spadix, it can take your entire life also. The genus Amorphophallus is another genus. I can show many slides, but due to time constraint, I am restricting myself. Genus Amorphophallus has about 18 species, and many of them are endemic to Western Ghats. It is a very important source of starch-yielding plants. You can see the architecture of, spadices. I think it is amazing and very pleasing. This slide, this is a Myristica malabarica, which is an endangered species. This is Myristica dactyloides, and this is a Nema attenuata. These two species, Nema attenuata and Myristica malabarica, are endemic to Western Ghats. The aril of these seeds is used in places. And you know, there is a competition among local people to collect the fruits for this aril and sell in market. Every year, thousands of fruits are removed from Western Ghats, and there is no reseeding, by which many species, not only Myristica malbarica, which is endangered, many species populations are going down in Western Ghats. Over exploitation of our resources is a very important aspect which we have to take care of. Now, we biologists, we taxonomists or botanists have to answer these questions. What are those questions to you? What to conserve? Why to conserve? When to conserve? Where to conserve? And very important question, how to conserve? These are the questions, especially to biologists. Of course, country, nation, our ministers will help us, but we have the knowledge and we know what to do with biodiversity. Therefore, we are most important in this. Now, another aspect, you know, world has started developing seed banks. And seeds are very important because we can store seeds for hundreds of years with least expenditure. And therefore, conservation of biodiversity in the form of seed banks is a very important aspect, and seeds banks provide insurance against threats to the plants in situ, options for future conservation and utilization of plants, a controlled source of plant materials for research, and that way seeds are very important. A Millennium Seed Bank project was started, and you know, the Millennium Seed Bank Partnership Project, an international conservation project coordinated by the Royal Botanical Gardens, Kew, and an insurance policy against the extinction of plants in wild by storing seeds for future. You just listen. The world's largest wild plant seed bank, where about 2 object seeds of 34,088 species, wild species, plant species are stored up to June 2015. It amounts to 13% of world's wildest plant species. And this way, world has made great progress in conserving our plant diversity in the form of seeds. And similar project has been taken by Svalbard Global Seed Vault, which is also a very important initiative for conservation of biodiversity. Now, taking this as an example, in 20 years before, I realized that seeds and seed banks are very important for conservation of biodiversity. And therefore, we started collecting seeds in the month of summer. Every year we collect seeds. My students, my teachers, my all friends, they give me seeds as a gift. And these seeds, in 1 year, we collect about 200 to 300 species seeds. And you can see these seeds, they are collected, they are processed in the laboratory, and then they are given to the Malis who prepare, who grow them. And you can see thousands of seedlings. At any point of time, you come to my lead botanical garden, I have more than 1 lakh seedlings of indigenous plants of our country. So this way, we raise seedlings in thousands, not 1, 2, and say that we are conserving biodiversity. We raise them in thousands, and then these seedlings, you know, this is my botanical garden. We have conserved even these tuberous cormatous plants, palms, and then we plant them in botanical gardens, and then we distribute these plants to municipal corporations, educational institutes, any individual who wants to grow, colleges, and botanical gardens. You know, every year we give more than 10 to 20,000 seedlings to the people. And this whole activity is done with the help of our students, teachers, and our Malis. And you can see, free of cost, we give seedlings to Municipal Corporation of Kolhapur, and so many seedlings, and Malis are the heroes of my garden. Then we introduced Victoria Amazonica in our garden, which is growing luxuriantly, and many children come to see, schools come to see, and we create a lot of awareness among people with the help of botanical gardens. Now this slide, you can see, this is a very important slide. We are reintroducing our plants in natural habitats. You see this one person, this boy, who is a golden medalist in botany of Shivaji University, and he is taking mud on his head and doing human service for conservation of biodiversity. Really speaking, your student is your strength, and teacher is not with one hand, two hands, but it is with many hands, and he can do wonders with his students. Now, see, these are the monotypic Jandra of our Western Ghats. Monotypic tree Jandra of Western Ghats: Irinocarpus nimoni, Blastema serratum, Otonapalum stipulaceum, Agasthimalaya pauciflora, Plesioneron indicum, and Pseudoglochidium annamalayam, now merged into Phyllanthus annamalayanum. How many of us we have seen this monotypic endemic tree species of Western Ghats? I am sure many of us we have not seen. What we can do about them? Can we bring them in botanical gardens, right? So that everyone will have access to these materials, everyone can see them, study them, and we can do better because they grow in a deep jungles. So we have brought 5 monotypic endemic tree Jandra of Western Ghats in our botanical garden. Another thing, simple experiment we did, that whenever we go anywhere, we sit below the palm tree, collect seeds, and bring it to laboratory, and then raise the seedlings. I have seedlings of palms in thousands. Now, today, there are more than 100 species of exotic and indigenous palms in our botanical garden. Now, this is one of the richest garden in palms in India. So you can understand importance of educational institutes in conservation. We can do a lot of work. Our students have a lot of strength. Even if you make each one student to adopt one plant species, okay, so many species, so many trees will be planted, or species will be planted in their houses, around their fields, and so on, and we can do conservation. So this is where educational institute have major role to play in conservation. And another idea came to mind, that endemic tree species of Western Ghats, most of us we don't know. There are more than 300 endemic tree species of species endemic to Western Ghats. Can we bring them in a garden? So my university supported us, and they give 30 acres of land for plantation, and we have developed an arboretum of 100 endemic tree species of Western Ghats. So now research scholars can come, students can come, study, access material, and that way, again, I would like to tell, every university has land, and they can develop such a botanical gardens which will play major role, especially in conservation of most critically endangered species. So this is about conservation, I said, and then utilization of our own resources for benefits. So there are many plants which have great ornamental value. Unfortunately, in Indian gardens, we don't have indigenous plants as ornamentals. We tried, showed some examples, showcased some examples. Number one is Delphinium malvaricum, which has metallic blue flowers. We developed package of practices for cultivation of these plants, and then released it to the farmer. So this is one. Another thing, Barlerias. There are 30 Barlerias species in India, of which majority are endemic and some are endangered. So about more than 22 species of Barlerias have been brought to the garden, used for various ornamental purposes, and you can see the diversity, colors of the flower. You name color, you name shape, you name size, you want for age. We have Barlerias, but nobody tried. We have brought them under cultivation and we are growing them. So this is another example how we can play important role. This garden was inaugurated by our Honorable Minister Sri Javadekar ji, and on 15th January, and garden was open to public. Now, another question to botanists is, who will conserve critically endangered species? Who knows about critically endangered species? Who knows about their status? Again, it is a botanist and especially taxonomist who know about these endangered endemic plants of our country. Now, Hubbardia heptanuron is a one example, and then another one is Ceropegia fantastica. These two species we took for conservation with the help of financial assistance from our DBT, which sanctioned a project. Now, Hubbardia heptanuron was collected in 1889 by Sedgwick, and then it was described in 1950 by Bohr, and it was not collected for 90 years, and it was declared as a possibly extinct by BSI. When I was moving in Kilari in search of plants, we collected one Hubbardia species, and as there is only one species of Hubbardia, we identified it as a Hubbardia heptanuron. And then we sent it to Cope, to Q, who is expert in grasses. He also said it is Hubbardia heptanuron. And then we submitted proposal to DBT, and it was sanctioned and for restoration of this species. So this is a history. I will show you the entire video, but you will feel proud that we have established more than 10,000 individuals at 100 locations in 20 Ghat areas, and this is now out of danger. Now, IUCN has removed it from critically endangered category. It is one successful story from our country in restoration of a critically endangered species of grass. We did for this one. Now, another story I must narrate, that is about this plant known as Abutilon ranadi. This is Abutilon ranadi, which is known as Songhanta. One girl research scholar, by artificial pollination, because it is a bird pollinated, by artificial pollination, raised 45,000 seeds of the species and raised the seedlings, and then with the help of forest department, she has reintroduced in forest areas, in natural habitats. So it is a, we must appreciate efforts of our research scholars. Now, these are your Ceropegias. See, each Ceropegia is so unique, so interesting. Only tigers, now people are attracted by tigers, but I am attracted by this tremendous diversity, variability. You can see this Ceropegia. Now you tell me, who will conquer these Ceropegias? Who knows these Ceropegias? Where they go? What is their field status? How we can propagate? How we can restore? How we can conserve them? All these questions botanist has to answer. Remember, botanist has to answer, and we did experiments. All the slides I will not show, but through tissue culture, we have 16 species propagated through conventional means tissue culture, and we have reintroduced in their natural habitats. This was one effort. You can see in this forest department, DBT, Shivaji University, then Earth Tree, all these were involved, and we have made some efforts. Now, third, this is, you can see this is a Camptorhiza indica, and this is Dipcadi concanens. These are critically endangered species, and here this is the space where ladies hostel was to come. So I told a student, this ladies hostel is going to come here, why not to transplant these plants from this area to other area. So in one day, my students dig 20,000 plants and then went to various other places, natural places, and planted at 10 places. To my surprise, all these plants are growing nicely, and we are monitoring for last 10 years. So the students have done on their own. I am the only witness for student efforts in conservation. So they can make a lot of difference to this one. Now, another thing, describing new species is a great honor to any person. Naming some plants in somebody's name is a great honor to that person. My laboratory, I've described more than 75 species of flowering plants in last 2 decades and named many plants after great botanists of our country. Which each new species, there is a story, which is a separate lecture, which I deliver. Today, I will give only 2-3 examples. Now, you see, this Vigna, 3 crops, Vigna radiata, Vigna mungo, and Vigna aconitifolia, we have domesticated in our country, and all wild relatives are in our country. Now, we took revision of this genus because it is a wild relatives, have great importance in crop improvement, and we saw that there are a lot of confusions in taxonomy. Now you can see this, all these 4 species have trilobed leaves, and in all herbaria, confusions have been made in their identifications. Now see this one. This is a Vigna indica, which grows right from Delhi to Kanyakumari, was named as a Vigna aconitifolia, Vigna stipulacea, or Vigna trilobata. Okay, so it was named as a trilobata, but trilobata only occurs in Tamil Nadu. Now this new species was described and 2 more species were added. So taxonomy, critical taxonomic studies are needed on different genera. Now a second example is Mucuna pruriens, which is used for L-DOPA extraction, and we described one new species, Mucuna sanjeevi, which has more than double L-DOPA content as compared to commercial source of L-DOPA, that is Mucuna pruriens. So it is important bioresource. Now third, a very interesting example, you can see this. This is a stream in Kerala, and this stream, we were going and we go to every habitat and try to search. You can see this, and then we saw this species in the stream growing in a running stream, and see these elegant flowers, see these leaves. The students are showing how they are long to me, and such an elegant species was not described till 2014-15. Okay, so this is that species. This species occurs in India, was not described, and closely related species, Crinum thyanum, grows in Thailand, which occurs in Thailand. So that is the Crinum thyanum. Now, what are the implications of this new discovery? That I want to tell you. See, number 1, this species has the longest leaves in genus Crinum, 15 feet long leaves. Leaves grow approximately 5 centimeters in length per day. It is restricted to 0.5 square kilometers. This is very important question to you, 0.5 square kilometer in the entire world. So even it may not take few days for its extinction. It is allied to Crinum thyanum, found in Thailand. It is the tetraploid. And last point you see, It has the highest gallium content in bulbs. That means it is a economically very important source. Now these are the implications. It's a geology, it's a ecology, it's a restoration. All these are the questions where botanists have to play a major role. So this is another example which I show. Now another example, Trithuria concanensis was described by myself and Janardhanam, and this was placed in monocot near to Gramine. Okay, near to Gramine. It looks like this. It is only 1 to 2 centimeter plant. See the leaves and see this red color. These are the stigmatic hairs. So this is a plant which we discovered in 1994 and described it, and it was kept in Hidatiales under family Hidatilaceae near Poales. In 2007, Sarella published a paper in Nature showing that it is not monocot. It is not monocot. It has no relation with monocot, and it is a basal angiosperm and clade of nymphaeals. This is the greatest change in systematic position of taxon seen by taxonomy. So you can see this. One species occurs in India, remaining 11 species occur in Australia. So what is relation? Phytogeography, that has its own significance. Okay. Now you see systematic position. In APG4, if you want to write flora of India, you will have to start with our family, Hidatilaceae. It will start with Hidatilaceae, right? So see this Nuphar, see this Nymphea, and the Hidatilaceae is a clade of nymphaeals. Unbelievable. Morphology, you know how morphology can deceive, and molecular biology can help us in understanding systematic position of some taxa. So that way, this is the very unique thing which our botanist should know. Now, lastly, I want to trace the need for careful, intensive, and extensive fieldwork to document plant diversity. From a single pond, this is that single pond near Jaitapur, pond of about 1 acre size, 5 new species have been described in span of 3 years by my student, and that indicates the need for extensive and intensive fieldwork. And this is that beautiful flowers which we could describe. We had opportunity to describe one of the most beautiful flowers of the world. So this is a slide every botanist and biologist should understand carefully. Understanding implications of species. There are several dimensions of species. First of all, it is a unique creation of nature. Second, it is an unparalleled chemist on this planet. It is witness of evolutionary history of life. It has phytogeographical significance. It has different functions in the ecosystem to do. It has different range of tolerance and distribution. It has different spatial and phylogenetic relationship. It has implications in invasiveness. It has some benefits to human beings or other organisms. In other words, every species is a biological capital of mankind. Thus, plant diversity of the country, of the region, and of every man, for which we have to be careful. This slide gives an important message that every plant species will weigh heavier than any amount of gold or money. We cannot calculate or evaluate price of any plant species in terms of money. Now, I come to the last point. I want to talk about 4 naked truths of life. I said 4 naked truths, bare truths of life. After 60 years of my experience in botany, I realized that there are 4 things which are real on this planet. Number 1 is water. Without water, we cannot think of life on this earth. This is the first naked truth of life. Second one, unless my stomach is full of food, entire world is useless to me. If I am hungry for 10, 15 days, entire world is useless for me. So food is a primary thing. And you know, on this planet, there is only one scientist, that is plants, which can synthesize food not only required by human being, but entire animal kingdom. So this is the second naked truth of life. This man who is very fond of gold, if he is hungry for 8, 10 days, he cannot bear the weight of this gold. He needs to eat, and then only he can enjoy everything. Then this Bhima, you know, who wants to fight powerful, can he fight with hungry stomach? And can he bear weight of this Gada with hungry stomach? So even if you want to be powerful, you need food to eat, which is synthesized by plants. Then third naked truth of life is our health. If I am suffering by some disease, serious disease, entire world becomes useless for me. Okay, and since our origin, all medicines have come from plants, and my health is also my plants. My health is taken care of my plants. Only with healthy life, good health, we can enjoy everything on this planet. If king is suffering with diabetes, with cancer, and if he is a king, he has everything, he cannot enjoy life, though he has everything with him. But if you have good health, good food to eat, and third, oxygen to breathe, and water to drink, even any man can remain happy on this planet. You know, per breath, if we want to buy oxygen, it will take 1 rupee. We will have to pay 1 rupee. In 24 hours, we breathe for 21,000 times. Our bill of oxygen per day is 21,000, which is paid by plants. And that's why these 4 bare truths, if I have good health, full stomach, good air to breathe, and water to drink, I can happily sleep up open rock under open sky. And this is a real truth. And these are the only things needed by human beings, or these are the basic needs. All other organisms are happy with these 4 things except human beings. Now, this is a story from our Mahabharata, and it gives a great message to every one of us. Our forefathers have already explained the importance of plant through the story of God Krishna, Satyabhama, and Rukmini. One leaf of plant weighed heavier than Krishna explains that for a humanity, if there is anything as important as God or more important than God, is a plant. So you can see Rukmini Satyabhama tried to weigh Krishna with gold. Still Krishna was heavier, but single leaf, it is an indicator of plant, was heavier than Krishna. Our forefathers told, oh man, if there is something more important to you than God, is a plant. And that message was given by our forefathers long back. Unfortunately, we have not analyzed it scientifically. You know, in 1730 AD, 373 people were killed when to protect trees which king's men were cutting. They offered their heads instead. So they offered their heads. This is the world's first tree hanging incident ever recorded. So you can understand those people were knowing that their lives are more important are not more important than trees, and that's why they gave their name. Though finally, plants are best friends. I think every one of you will agree with me. Plants are best doctors, best artists, best designers, best engineers, economists, technicians, and finally, they are the best teachers of our life. Now, most important question is that nagging question it is to the humanity of 21st century is that how we are going to hand over our Mother Earth to our next generations, whether with denuded climate and resources, degraded for, or quite equitable climate and with all required resources for future generations. This is a big question to all of us. Finally, most of us are teachers and students, and student is the strength of teacher. He has hands as many as students, and teacher can contribute immensely to the conservation of biodiversity and welfare of humanity. Whatever I have shown and explained is work of my students. I am thankful to authorities of Dayal Singh College, University of Delhi, for giving me opportunity to share my views. My special thanks to Dr. Jaslin Kaur Kalia for giving me or training me how to use Google Meet. And finally, remember, I have understood my strength is my student. I have 2 videos which you will enjoy and need your just 5 more minutes. Thank you very much.